This is AndyTube. In this video I'm going to show you how I remove the needle thread take-up lever and the associated parts with it. I want to show you up at the top here a couple of things before I get started. So when I mention them, you may not be able to see them at that time. Right here is a set screw that goes in from the top, and it holds this stud right here in place. And then also up on the top there's a hole in the top of the casting where you can put a screwdriver down inside to get to a set screw on the needle bar crank that holds this connecting stud in place in the needle bar crank. So this is a swivel stud, and this is a connecting stud. Okay, and this part is called the needle bar connecting link, because the needle bar connecting stud fits into here, if you remember that when you took out the needle bar. So I wanted to show you those two things that you need to work on up on top when you do this. Okay, let me get this set up so you can try and give you a better lighting up in here. Okay, that's not too bad. So the first thing that I do is go up here and loosen or remove the stud or the set screw that holds this stud in place right there. And I usually back it all the way out, because the clearance, the tolerances on the stud and then the receiving hole are so tight that even if a little bit of this set screw protrudes into there, it can block you when you're trying to remove that stud. And it's actually hard enough to get that stud out without, taking a chance of this being in the way. So I just remove it. Then the next thing I want to do is go on from that hole in the casting up top to get this set screw that holds the connecting stud into the needle bar crank. And if you turn this at about a 90-degree angle or so, when you look up in here, you should be able to see the hole where that set screw is recessed into. Now, depending on how much light that you have up in here, it can be difficult to see that. So a lot of times I'll take a little flashlight and give myself a little extra light in there, because the needle bar crank is dark gray and the set screw is dark gray. Okay, once I get the screwdriver tip into there, the problem is when you push down on it to try and, whoops, I think I slipped out. When you push down on it, the screwdriver, the needle bar crank is going to rotate, so your screwdriver will just fall out. So you got to hold that needle bar crank securely from going down while you, come on, there we go, turn that screwdriver and back out the set screw. Now if you have a magnetized screwdriver that will fit on this set screw, it's a really good time to use it so that you don't lose that set screw down in there. And this set screw is a little bit bigger than the first one I took out, so it's easy for me to remember. The bigger one goes on the bigger connecting stud, and the smaller one goes on the swivel stud. Okay. Now, this can be pretty gummed up here. This stud now can be pulled out of the connecting bar of the connecting stud, pulled out from the needle bar crank, but it might be kind of stuck in there, and you can actually put a screwdriver in that slot right there. That slot has a special purpose I'll tell you about later, but you can use that to kind of free it up a little bit, and you can try just pulling it. Whoop, my light's about to fall over. You can try pulling it out, and sometimes it'll break free. Sometimes you gotta grab it with like a pair of pliers, but be gentle when you do, because you don't want to scratch it up or anything. See if I can get a light grip on it, and there. So as soon as it starts coming out, I get rid of the pliers and just pull that connecting stud out. There we go. Okay. Now with that out, the only thing holding all these mechanisms to the machine is this stud up here. So let's see if we can just keep pulling it out. I think I want to rotate this so my little thread control, looks like a bird's beak there, was sticking through the hole in the side of the machine, and I don't want to bend it or anything, so I've got to kind of get that into a position away from that and see if I can pull that stud out. The clearance is so tight, and of course it's going to be kind of dirty inside and have varnished oil on it. Okay, so you see the parts came apart. This is the link, the take up lever link over to the stud. This is kind of got a swivel piece set at the factory, a rotating piece, and you see that this other piece came off while I was working on it. This is the needle bar connecting link, and it goes from this thread take up, and it fits on the back side of the thread take up and that loop like that. Okay, and then that connecting stud goes right there into the needle bar crank, and that's what holds those pieces together. And on this 500 and 503A, this extra piece was added called the thread control, or automatic thread control. And there is a screw into the connecting link that holds that in place. And you can take that out and separate the parts if you want to clean them, or if you want to remove this. None of the sewers that I know thread the machine in the recommended way to use this thread control. They don't find it of any value. So a lot of them, if they've ever taken this linkage off to clean everything, they remove that screw and take this off. But I don't know if that's a good idea. I always leave it on there because that's the way it came. And if the new owner of this machine wants to take it off, that's up to them. But anyway, that's how to get it off, and that's what the parts look like. So you've got the thread take-up lever, the connecting link, and the needle bar connecting link. Okay, get that back off. And then you have the two set screws and the connecting stud. So that's very easy and worthwhile. Now you can get in here real good and clean everything and look for damage and so forth. So easy peasy, and it goes back on almost as easy. And let me get set up and I'll show you how to just reinstall it back into the machine. Okay, I am set up now to reinstall this thread take-up lever and thread control. I want to start by turning the hand wheel or horizontal arm shaft so that the opening for the stud is about 3 o'clock there. Okay, and then I'm going to take the needle bar connecting link, which has the thread control screwed to the back of it, and you see that it's got a protrusion right there that will fit perfectly into the opening. And I'll just set it in there, and you have to kind of poke the thread control out of the side of the machine over here, and then line that up and push it in. I guess it didn't hear me that well. Line it up and push it in, no? Okay, so I raised it up a little, then it was easier to get in for some reason, and then maybe I'll leave it up there, because then I can rest the bottom on the pin release lever so it doesn't fall out. That's a good idea. Okay, then I'll take the actual thread take-up lever and the connecting link, this part, which has a hinge stud already screwed to it, and you can see a milled out area here in the center for the set screw to go into. So the trick here is to get this hinge stud started in the receiving hole up here, and once it gets started, then you have to put this loop of the thread take-up over the front protrusion of the needle bar link. So see if I can get that started up in there. You put a little oil in there. Of course, now normally I would have cleaned and polished these and so forth, but they're both a tight fit. So you'll see as you get that going in that the circle here gets closer and closer to the link protrusion. Because if you stick the stud in too far at first, you won't be able to get the loop over that link. Up, there it goes. Oh, I think I got it. So this is about halfway in now. The hinge stud over here is about halfway into the receiving hole, and my loop going on the protrusion of the needle bar link is on about halfway. So that's very good. So what I'm going to do is just take my thumbs now and put one on the hinge stud and one on the link circle, and try and push them both back. And sometimes it helps to kind of jiggle them a little bit to get them to seat in there. Now, just for the heck of it, I'm going to turn my horizontal arm. Okay, here's my thread take-up lever going down, coming up. This would stay more in the center on the needle bar. This wouldn't come over here really, it would stay more in the center on the needle bar. Okay, and then I want to put this in a position so that I can look at it and make sure it's all the way on. And the protrusion on the needle bar link will come up flush with the ring of the thread take-up lever when you have it pushed all the way back. It looks pretty good to me. I think they're both all the way back. Okay, so I still want this to be at about 3 o'clock, because remember, I've got to put this screwdriver in here and reinstall the set screw. Okay, so but first I have to put in the link stud, and the link stud has a flat spot only in one place, not all the way around like the hinge stud did, but just in one spot. And that's so that it has to be up facing the set screw, so the set screw will enter right in there and hold it in this position. And you see on the one side here there's a groove cut in and a little oil hole, so that when you put oil in there, it kind of slowly leaks out that groove and little hole to get oil, to oil the inside of that. And it has to do that because the take-up is constantly spinning around this link stud. And to make sure that when you put it in, that flat spot is up, Singer, when they cut that groove, they cut it at 3 o'clock. So if you put the stud in with that groove right here, at 3 o'clock, then the flat spot will be at 12 o'clock. And then if you turn, so this is about 3 o'clock, it'll all line up, so I can go in here and put in my set screw. Okay, So let's just take this guy and wiggle him in here, because he has to, yeah, always takes a little kind of jiggling and wiggling, and then we'll push him back. I got to get over here now to see if it looks about right, and then if you didn't end up at 3 o'clock, you can just put the edge of a screwdriver in there or turn it with your fingers and get there. That looks pretty good. Then I'm going to take the larger of the two set screws. There's a set screw back over here for the hinge stud, and then this set screw on the needle bar crank where you go in this little hole on the top of the body there. Right? Now for the hinge stud, this is actually a screw here that's screwed into the stud, and it's lefty tighty. It's backwards. It's lefty tighty. And many of these have been ruined by people trying to take them out. So that's put into the stud during the factory assembly of the connecting link and everything. And I have taken them out before, but boy, to me it's a lot easier to take the set screw out up here on the top and just pull the whole stud out rather than damage that. So the only part left now is my smaller screw set screw that goes up here on top of that hinge stud. So I put that on here, okay. And oh, sure enough, I wiggled and it came off of my screwdriver. Doggone it. Let me try and magnetize this a little bit more. See if I can get a little more power on it. Now this set screw is the one that you have to adjust while you're turning the hand wheel to be sure you don't have too much play, or more likely this stud will be pushed in too far and you'll get binding as this tries to go around. So you've got to get the set screw in there and kind of get it started, and then start turning everything as you tighten, because remember that area on the stud that was milled out goes 360 degrees. It goes all the way around the stud, so it doesn't matter the position of the stud. You just want to find a spot that won't bind everything up. Okay. And usually what happens is people, you know, your automatic nature is to push everything in, and it tells you push this in firmly and put in the set screw. So you push this in, turn the set screw, and then when you start sewing it binds. Well, it might not sound like but you know, it binds. So I'm going to get a little more light up here to see what I'm doing. I got all the camera lights in my eyes, and I can't see that set screw up there. Okay, so it's almost tight. Everything's looking good, so I'm just going to see how it goes. Oh, it's not binding at all. See if I tighten the set screw a little bit more. Whoop, there's a little... I think that was me. Tighten it a little bit more. Tighten it pretty firmly. Okay, and I don't feel any hesitation. Usually when you're going to feel it is right about there, because this is stressed and this is stress turning and this is stress turning. So usually when you come up like that, you'll feel it hesitate and then easy and hesitate, easy, if you've got this too far in. And I'm not feeling that hesitation at all. You know, look at that. It's spinning very easily and it feels smooth to my hand. So I like it. Now you want to make sure that if it wasn't far enough in, you could still get binding, because it would be, you know, things would be kind of bent out. But you want to grab this whole assembly. I'm going to kind of put it back up at the 3 o'clock here, and you want to grab that connecting link. Don't grab this, because I've seen people break that off. Don't do that. But I want to grab this. Excuse me. I want to grab this link here, or right at this hinge, and I just want to kind of push in and pull back and make sure that I don't have a lot of give, a lot of looseness. And I don't. It feels good. Yay! Okay, there you go. So you've already got your thread take-up lever with the thread control right there. See that little thread control pop out there and pull the thread and go back in. Okay. You did another good job on your 500 or 503 Singer Rocketeer. Ta-da! Okay. That was easier than you thought, right? Okay, I'm so happy that you watched my video. Thank you. And I appreciate any comments or questions. You know, if you'd like to subscribe, that's fine. If you want to share it with somebody you know that has a Rocketeer and send them a link, they might appreciate that. And I hope you will come back and visit my channel. Take care.